dedication by Pastor Ken Manning, Taylorville Christian Church.
Bow our head. Father, we thank you for your blessings and for all that you have done for us, for your love and your forgiveness. Father, we thank you for the blessing that we have in our city, in Taylorville, and for the blessings that you've given us here. We especially thank you for these men and women who lead our community. We, Father, pray your guidance upon them tonight as they make these decisions. And we ask that, Father, you help that everything that is said and done will be pleasing to you, will bring you honor and glory. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
roll call.
Here. Here.
John Bruce, Ernie Dorchenez,
Here.
Kathy Driscoll,
Here.
Ken Gonzalez, Jim Hall,
Here.
Principal Teddy.
Here.
All aldermen are present except for Bertle. Youth of the Month. Tonight I get to honor the All-State Band members. Here's a list of the All-State musicians. The entire THS Jazz Band was featured in a performance at the 2020 Illinois Music Education Conference. Members are saxophones, and if you'd stand while I read your name, Marcus Wilkins, Selah Allen, Star Cossey, Gavin Cooper, Tyler Sherbert, Haley Rhodes. Trombones, Connor Chase, Carly Tracy, Gabe Shanks. Trumpets, Emily Thorpe, Blake Rice, Austin Shar, Tawny Minks. Drums, Tate Wagner and Kimberly Howard. Piano, Natalie Howard. Guitar, Zach Woodall. Bass, Keaton Hohenstein and Trip Pelikoff. Let's give these people a round of applause. The following students were also selected to perform in the All-State Ensemble and got named All-State Band. Madeline Kelm, Tyler Sherbert, Blake Rice, Carly Tracy, Keaton Hohenstein, Tate Wagner, Gavin Cooper, Emily Thorpe, Connor Chase, and Haley Rhodes. Let's give these people a round. Come forward. Whereas to really excel in any one subject, a young person must demonstrate, in addition to a great deal of natural ability, an outstanding spirit of knowledge, dedication, enthusiasm, and hard work. And whereas 10 Taylorville High School students who excelled in music by being selected All-State by the Illinois Music Education Association. Now therefore, I, Bruce Berry, Mayor of the City of Taylorville, do hereby proclaim February 18, 2020 as Illinois Music Education Association Day. Congratulations.
I love those berry sacks.
Is that in house?
Biggest thing you can put hands on.
It's always something.
I ate for supper tonight.
didn't ask you. I didn't ask you. I asked Kathy. I'm talking to you. You're too below my status in law.
Are you 41?
I'm gonna have to sit between.
You know that.
Yeah.
44?
All right, just don't respond. I'll talk to Kathy.
Omnibus vote designation. Motion to approve. Motion by
Second.
Alderman Dorsones, second by Alderman Bryant. Roll call.
Larry Bud.
Yes.
Ernie Dorchenez.
Yes.
Kathy Driscoll.
Yes.
Lee Landzadi.
Yes.
Jim Oliver.
Yes.
Bill Teddy.
Yes.
Megan Bryan.
Yes.
Motion approved 7-0. Minutes of the public hearing held February 3rd, 2020. Minutes of the regular meeting held February 3rd, 2020. Minutes of the Emergency Services Committee meeting held February 6th, 2020. Minutes of the Personnel Committee meeting held February 6th, 2020. Minutes of the Water Environmental Committee meeting held February 13th, 2020. And minutes of the Lake and Airport Committee meeting held February 13th, 2020. Motion to approve all those? Motion by Alderman Dorsones, second by Alderman Skoltedi. Roll call.
Ernie Dorchenez.
Yes.
Kathy Driscoll.
Yes.
Lee Landzadi.
Yes.
Jim
Yes.
Oliver. Bill Teddy.
Yes.
Megan Bryan.
Yes.
Larry Bud.
Yes.
Motion is carried 7-0. An ordinance amending chapter 3 and section 3-15-1 and 3-15-2 of chapter 15 of title 3 of the Taylorville City Code, liquor license video gaming terminals. That's where we raised the fees for the establishments that have gaming to $3,000 except for the clubs, and we left them at what it is. I believe that's $1,000. All other fees like early opening, late opening, Sunday sales, those fees will remain the same. So I need a motion to approve that. Motion by Alderman Bud,
Comment.
second.
Second.
Alderman Dorsones, comment. Alderman Bryant.
So, did you remove the limits for the license in this ordinance?
Right, I believe the limits are removed. But, and the reason that is it used to have a limit on C1s and C2s, and there's not that classification anymore. It was the only limits. So, and what it is, there's a new classification in there, it's called a Class O, which the council will have to approve if any establishment doesn't fit in what the current codes are now.
Okay, so, and I could be completely wrong,
Okay?
but I don't think that's, we had it one time where there was a gaming establishment owner that wanted to put in another gaming place.
Okay.
And we were out of licenses to give.
Okay.
So there had to have been a limit at that point.
Well, there was a limit on A2s or C2s at the time, and that's what he was wanting. Now, the only difference in the classifications are gaming and non-gaming.
But when I look through this, I think beyond the whole scope of the limits to the license, there is a lot in this that needs to be changed. I think there's things that we're not enforcing, so why are they in there? Stuff like that, which can go on to another thing. I just know it was the concern of some that we had a restriction on the license, and now with no restrictions, even with, combining them with no restrictions, we could have 40 other applications tomorrow.
But the council would be able to approve anyone from there on.
So,
Go ahead.
so every single license that comes before this applied for now that requires gaming will have to come before the city council to be approved.
Right. The way I understand it. Is that correct, Rocky, the way that?
Well, actually, what this ordinance does is eliminate all restrictions on the number of liquor licenses that can be issued with or without video gaming privileges within the city. We also deleted references to requiring that proof of licensee revenues to either qualify for certain liquor licenses like grocery stores and taverns and those things. Those things were all taken away. We changed the definitions for what consists of a tavern, lounges, restaurants, and grocery stores. And then we set the $3,000 annual fee for all liquor licenses that have video gaming, except the clubs was going to be stayed at $950 annual. And all licenses for video gaming had to be paid in full without any proration during the year prior to issuance of it. And if it's someone who came to the council and wanted a liquor license so they could have video gaming in an establishment that doesn't fit within one of the definitions come to the city council on a case-by-case nature to decide whether or not to grant that liquor license.
So not,
That's what this ordinance does.
so not everybody is required to. So you're saying it's.
No. If you meet the definition of a tavern, lounge, restaurant, grocery store, as these definitions have been refined within this ordinance, then no, it goes to the mayor and city downstairs. If it meets those qualifications, liquor license would be issued with or without video gaming. It's only, we created, because when the city and I was going through this, there was a number of different things we talked about as folks can be creative about what they want to do for liquor establishments and gaming. So we created that you folks can decide going forward. If someone comes forward, doesn't meet one of these definitions, tavern, lounge, grocery store, etc., then they have to come to you on a case-by-case basis to get approved. Otherwise, if they meet the definition of what we've got, an establishment, tavern, lounge, etc., they're gonna get a liquor license. There's no restriction on the number anymore. But if you want a gaming, it's gonna cost them $3,000 with no proration each year.
Alderman Dorsones?
I don't think there should be any restriction on them. I think it'd be self-governing. There's only so many, they said there could be a tavern on every corner. I don't believe that. They just can't stay in business. It's the same on the video gambling. And over the years, I've seen with limitations, then they add one more, somebody comes, they add one more, and they always go through and what has happened in the past is, for example, people that have video gambling right now, they don't want any more. They don't want any more competition. And to me, that doesn't make sense, because there's only so many places can have that, and it's not cheap to do it. So, if you, and I've seen it come and go, there's one on East Main that I drive by all the time. There was once a restaurant, and video gaming is no longer. And he bought somebody else's license, moved somewhere else, and it's been like that over the years. And what it does now is, it gets rid of that, somebody coming in and saying they want a liquor license, they don't have one. So in other words, if all the liquor licenses were given out right now, and some big restaurant / bar come to town, you know what we're gonna do. You're gonna invite them to come to town, you're gonna give them a liquor license. So the decision is, I think we've already made these decisions, what we're gonna do. And so this takes away all the time we're spending debating this, and we always do the same thing. We always let them come in town. So what difference does it make?
Well, I don't think we've had a chance to discuss the license, the number of licenses. Have we? Did I miss it?
I don't know, we've always been open on all this discussion. Like, my thought is, if Walmart wants it, they're a grocery store, I would make sure we give that to them. Would you be opposed to that? If Kroger wanted it, if Casey's East wanted, Casey's West has already got it, shouldn't they be allowed to get them also? Are we gonna limit them? And what we've limited the ones that may or may not be a grocery store, a convenience store, a bar, a restaurant, or whatever. From what I hear, there's a couple people gonna give them up. I think by raising the license fee high enough, you're gonna weed a few out, but you're gonna allow somebody to say, hey, I think I can do that. And so,
I'm not opposed at all
Right.
to opening up the number. I'm not saying that at all. I think you're exactly right. I think raising the license is going to weed out some and everything like that.
I don't.
All I'm
Go ahead.
All I'm saying is I just think we should have been able to discuss it a little bit more. And then if we would have had time to discuss it, we could have went through and changed a few other things and done it all in one swoop. Like the part in there that says it has to be a closed room. Well, I can name 4 or 5 different bars in town that don't have them in a closed room. So if we're not gonna do anything about it, then why do we even have that in there?
Well, I don't know why that's in there either. I don't know if that's a state law or not, because like I said, for many years, they've had roped off areas before. I think the convenience store down here on West Main and Webster Street, I don't think that's in an enclosed room. But I think it's blocked off enough, and I think that meets the definition of an enclosed room. I mean, you and I might differ on that,
I don't really care if they're in a closed room. or
Right,
not.
I don't either, but.
My personal
So,
opinion, but.
I think
But I
right,
think one of the things that the state looks at, of course, you can't, you gotta be 21 to gamble, so,
right,
or 18, I should say, so, I mean,
21.
that means it. But
Yeah.
take a close look at Class O license, and if you look at that, I wanna restate what that's really saying. Cindy and I talked about it, I think that Ted will compare somewhat, is that this is only a business establishment that would be approved by you folks from time to time, that's in a C1 or a C2 zoning district, that wants to sell liquor for consumption on the premises only, but in a separately closed room where video gaming terminals are located, and how the size of that room, the specification, the location, you folks would have to approve that, and the Illinois Gaming Board would have to authorize the placement of video gaming terminals there, and they would have to provide a separate address for that Class O license, so it is somewhat restricted, but that was kind of created to try to cover these folks that have been coming up and asking Cindy and the mayor for a variety of different licenses that didn't fit with any of the definitions, and you guys can just decide that on a case-by-case basis.
I have a comment.
comment, Alderman Driscoll.
In regards to what you brought up, Rocky, is saying that this is supposed to go before the city council to approve the plans, dimensions, specifications, and locations of such enclosed room. I don't think that these have been standardly been brought before the council before.
This is for the new classification.
Actually, no, it's
correct?
not. It's in other ones too. I just saw, yeah, it's in all the other ones too.
I've never,
It's right up, if you look at the O, it's right up here too, and the one above it, which would
Right.
be,
Well, the M and the N,
yeah.
that was created, if you remember, some months ago, that was to cover up a convenience store, if you recall. And that's where the gentleman came in and you guys, he laid out a plan and so forth, and those are the rooms that have to be approved. So we did, you got an M and you got an N.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I guess a class, let me get back up here, a class M is a one kind of convenience store, and then class N is a different kind of a store. If you look at the definitions.
And I think we can discuss that in ordinance. I just think this needs to, depending on what we do now with what we're voting on now, this should go back to ordinance anyway for a little.
If I could make one more comment.
go ahead, Alderman Driscoll.
I just want to say, I understand the no limitations on the liquor license, because as you said, if we have a big restaurant coming in here and they want to be able to serve wine, we'd be stupid to say no to that. But does this also tie hand in hand with not restricting any gaming licenses? We have no restrictions on those
Well,
as
I
well?
think the $3,000 fee is restricted for a lot of people.
Oh, you can argue that, yes, but I'm just saying, are we not gonna have any hard numbers that we only have 35 to hand out and that's it? We're not gonna limit this,
I
or we're
would
just gonna
rather-
let them on every corner?
Well, my personal thought is, I don't care where they're at, if somebody wants to give the city $3,000 and we get 5%. It's been, like I said, if we raise the licensing fee, plus the money we get off gaming, will be $400,000 next fiscal year.
I understand the
And
money.
the issue that the city has is finding revenue sources. I think this is a great revenue source. If you don't want, it's like I said, if you don't want to participate in the gaming, it doesn't cost you a dime. The other people that want to do it, they're paying the fees, they're paying that. So I think it's enough. But no, if somebody else wants to come in and pay the $3,000 fee, I think we should let them. Let the market decide. Just like we would let any gas station, we'd let any grocery store, we would let another movie theater come in here, any restaurant. As long as they pay and they hire people, we would let them be here. And I don't see this as any other business, more different than any other business.
I do. I
Good.
personally see it as a different business. I think it's an eyesore. I think we got more than we need now. There's, I don't know how many that we have, but they're everywhere. I think the freaking video store's trying to get one now. You know, I can personally tell you that I would vote no if Walmart wanted one, because I think that's a family environment. I don't want my, you know, I personally don't, my kids don't, I don't want them around it. I just don't think they need to see it, and maybe I'm a strict parent, but that's the way it is. I don't want it in a family environment everywhere I go. And that's my personal belief, you know, it's, to me, it's an eyesore, and it's almost preying on the people that that are the ones that gamble, they're gambling money a lot, or gambling money they don't have to gamble, and this is given the opportunity because they think they're gonna make a quick buck, and they're everywhere. So, you know, and I'd vote no for Kroger. You know, if a whole new restaurant come in here for, depending upon the style or whatever, yeah, there may be something, but, you know, I can tell you that there'd be a lot of times I'd vote no, and I'm not, without limits, I'm not gonna vote for it.
Alderman Bennett?
I think that's Chris Bidon there. Sure looks like him from here.
Trying to come
We
in,
can
come
tell
in.
you, we have been dealing with this, I've been on the council 7 years. In all 7 years, we've been dealing with this license stuff. We did restaurants, we've done everything of this, we made one person put in a restaurant, and they're no longer in business, but yet we couldn't enforce everything that we've had. It's very clear, we haven't been able to enforce anything, we had restrictions, you had to prove how much money you made off of something to be able to say whether you qualified or not. This is the simplest way around this, so that we're not dealing with this again. We said, probably a year ago, or 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, we didn't want to deal with this, we did this. And we're right back to the same table. The problem you've got here with this is this needs to be decided, because liquor licenses have to be renewed, I believe, by May 1st.
Correct.
This is time sensitive. I said that at the last meeting. You don't have a lot of time to deal with this, because licenses are gonna go out. These people need to know what's going on. And you can't wait till May 1st to change this. Not done.
I'd recommend that we pass the ordinance as is, and as you know, we can always change an ordinance. Megan, if you want to put it on the agenda to talk about it some more and recommend some changes out of your committee, I don't have a problem with that.
We had a motion and a second, correct?
Yes, you did.
Roll call.
Kathy Driscoll? No. Leland Zeddy?
No.
Jim Moss?
Yes.
Chris Teddy?
No.
Megan Bryant?
Yes.
Larry Bud?
Yes.
Ernie Dorchenez?
Yes.
Motion passes 4-3.
I assume you would vote yes, Mayor Berry?
Mayor Barry votes yes. Motion passes 5-3. Ordinance. An ordinance amending subparagraph D of section 7-1-3, section 7-4-6, and section 8-1D1 of Taylorville City Code. Revocation of permits, licenses, and leases, boat docks, boathouses, and other shoreline structures or alterations and insurance requirements.
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Alderman Dorchenez.
Second.
Second by Alderman Bryant. Questions or comments? Alderman Oll?
I got a question, and Ernie can probably answer this for me.
I can.
I know you could, that's why I directed it to
You
you.
come to the right person.
Are we grandfathering everything that's in the lake now? Will that all be grandfathered in and
It's already in the ordinance, the ones that are grandfathered. If you're talking about, like, for example, if we're talking about boat docks, and I got, this is one of the things I need to talk to Mr. Romano about, is that currently in the ordinance, you can only have a boat dock that's 25 foot long, and we've already broken our own ordinance because of the fact that in some places at the lake, down towards the Wanaka Blacktop, there's so much silt out there where the lake's silted in that the 25 feet is from the shoreline. But you can almost walk on, I mean, it looks like when you walk out there, you can walk on water because of the silt, that's out there. So we've kind of broken our own ordinance by allowing some of those to be longer than 25 feet, simply because of the fact if they were 25, you couldn't bring a boat in there. Okay. I got to talk to Mr. Romano about one of my suggestions, because we have a person that's building a new house and a boat dock on Davis' subdivision, and he wants it to be 40 feet out. And I called the Department of Natural Resources, and they told me that the state of Illinois does not restrict the length of a boat dock. Okay, what they do recommend is, they said is paramount is safety. So, you know, obviously you don't want a boat dock to go out to the middle of the lake where somebody's going to be skiing and smack that boat dock. So my recommendation is going to be, I need to talk to Mr. Romano about this, and not tonight, because we're not passing that tonight, but we'd like to do it on a case-by-case basis. And if somebody wants it to be 40 feet out, we need to look at that. on a case-by-case basis and decide whether to allow that or not. In other words, don't let the ordinance of 25 feet do it, it'd be 25 feet, or by looking at that individually, that we could put it where they want it at, up to 40 feet. And we have one right now, so we have to look at those and see if paramount thing is safety. Is it safe to put it out to 40 feet? Is the neighbor gonna complain if it's 40 feet? So we take all those things into,
Yeah.
making a Jeff comment.
Yeah, I did. So is the
Okay.
answer yes, like they're gonna be grandfathered in?
I believe so.
Already
Is
started.
that the answer?
No, he gets the whole thing. I mean, when you ask me a question, you get all the information.
I haven't learned that about you yet.
Yeah, when I got the floor, okay, and I like that. All right, so does that answer your question?
But let me help you, Alderman Dorchenez, to the
Oh,
answer.
see, tell Megan too.
A direct question was, is it grandfathered in? If you look at the, paragraph A, under 7-4-6 and 2, I just kept in the same language that you had before, which is on and after April 17, 1995. Where's your grandfather? So
That's what,
it's not the date of this, effective date of this ordinance, it's going back to April 17, 1995.
yeah,
So that's what grandfathering is, not tonight.
All right.
yeah, that's what I said.
That's what you really said, I heard that.
When he said that's what he understands, I said.
Roll call.
Lee Landzadi,
Yes.
Jim Olive,
Yes.
Chris Teddy,
Yes.
Megan Bryant,
Yes.
Larry Bud,
Yes.
Ernie Dorchenez.
Yes.
Kathy Driscoll.
Yes.
Mayor Barry.
Yes. Motion carries 8-0.
The fair vote too, yeah,
I voted yes.
Alright.
Motion, an ordinance approving a letter of engagement for engaging an independent registered municipal advisor by and between the city of Taylorville and the Economic Development Group, LTD. Motion by Alderman Bud, second by Alderman Olive. This is an engagement letter, naming Steve Klein as our registered municipal advisor. Some of the talks we're having with some different companies that may be coming to town. We need to do some financial things with either TIF or BDD, and so we need, Steve Klein needs this in order to give us the financial advice coming from a legal representative. Rocky?
And also, Mayor, I just want to also add, see the email that I sent out to everybody, and they cooperated and agreed to those changes about the limiting of liability on their part. So, they made the changes that I requested, so with those changes, then I don't have a problem with the agreement.
Roll call.
Jim Olive,
Yes.
Chris Teddy,
Yes.
Megan Bryant.
Yes.
Larry Bud,
Yes.
Ernie Dorchenez.
Yes.
Kathy Driscoll.
Yes.
Lee Landzadi.
Yes.
Mayor
Mayor votes.
Barry votes yes. Motion carries 8-0. Resolution, on-call engineering group. This is an agreement with Benton and Associates. They called this afternoon, Rocky and them have worked through everything. I wanted to know if they needed to be here. I told them they did not. And, so we need a motion to approve the engineering agreement with Benton and Associates.
Let me interrupt for a moment, please. What you're going to be approving is a resolution, and I direct your attention to section 2. We need to put a dollar amount in there that would allow the mayor, whatever you folks decide, that he'll have the discretion to hire Benton Associates from time to time for, projects, but there needs to be a dollar amount put in section 2. And then if you look at the agreement with, Benton Associates agreed to all my changes, I think inadvertently they just left out the word first under item 15, or was it shall be first submitted to non-binding mediation? I don't think Reggie's gonna have a problem with that, so your motion will include that additional word first, and you need to come up with a number for section 2 to allow the mayor to hire them from time to time without having full city council approval. Or an on-call basis.
Are we gonna need the Benton and Associates before the next fiscal year when I can name them the engineer letter? For the East Main project?
I don't know, this question for Rocky. With the East Main and with the West Main projects that he's working on currently?
Well, understand with his agreement is that this is, it's kind of a twofold. This is like an on-call, I won't say emergency, but for something that needs to be done right
you know the astronomical cost of engineering almost matches attorney fees. So would you suggest
I think you got it reversed.
10,000 or 25,000 for this temporary? 25,000 would,
25,000
is what I would suggest for section 2.
What was the price that came back on the last engineering? I should have looked at that today and I didn't. I don't know numbers.
Well, for example, let me just throw, just to give you an example here, I know that Dave Spiegel, I don't know if he's in the audience or not, but he justifiably so, asked that we need to get an easement, from GSI for our water tower out there. Well, of course, that requires engineering work, requires surveying, requires, easement plats. And, you know, those kind of projects, America say, yes, go ahead and do that. And then we go forward with it. Like the Ridge Avenue project that they're working on, for the extension of a water main or water line, like they did for the Mormon property. You know, those kind of things. So, yeah, the 25,000 is probably a good number.
Rocky, could we insert whatever the mayor thinks is reasonable and proper with the approval of the city council when the city council meets next?
I'm not understanding your question.
Can we put, instead of a dollar amount, could we put where it says, in each case not to exceed what the mayor decides is reasonable and proper?
Yeah, we can do that. Yeah, sure. Instead of put a dollar amount, just put an each, from time to time.
We'll hold his feet to the fire.
All right.
That's right, so just said,
Reasonable and proper.
from time to his discretion and cross out, but each case not to exceed and put in there, in his discretion and what he believes to be appropriate and proper.
Okay. Roll call.
Did we have a second?
Yes, Dorchenez, I think, Bud and Olive.
And that's with the addition of the word first on that, second, item 15, so I'll talk to Reggie about that.
Rocky,
Yeah.
does that have to go back to ordinance then if we change that, verbiage?
No.
No.
No, this is, I wouldn't think so because it's, no, you don't have to, because the way we've got the agenda lined up, it's any amendments to what's on there. You've got the right to ask it to go back.
The motion was made by Bud and seconded by Olive.
Ordinance is
No,
full.
the other way.
Olive and Bud.
Olive and Bud, okay. Roll call.
Jim Olive,
Yeah.
Driscoll Teddy,
No.
Megan Bryant,
Yes.
Larry Bud.
Yes.
Ernie Dorchenez.
Yes.
Kathy Driscoll.
Yes.
Leland Zadi.
No.
Motion carries 5-2. Motion to authorize and direct the mayor to sign the community partnership agreement between the city of Taylorville and CEFS Economic Opportunity Cooperation. Motion by Alderman Dorchenez, second.
Second.
Alderman Driscoll, questions or comments? Roll call.
Driscoll Teddy,
Yes.
Megan Bryant,
Yes.
Larry Bud,
Yes.
Ernie Dorchenez.
Yes.
Kathy Driscoll.
Yes.
Leland Zadi.
Yes.
Jim Olive.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0. Motion to approve the application for the USDA rural grant for a new police vehicle. Motion by Alderman Driscoll.
Second.
Second by Alderman Bryant. Questions or comments?
Got a question, is the police chief in the audience?
Yes,
He
he
is.
is.
He is, okay, and I've got an email out to him. Yeah, go ahead and do this, approve the application. And just a question that the chief sent to me, the USDA wants some kind of certification from me that I'm gonna perform legal work to incorporate the city of Taylorville, which is, I think the wrong form, but we'll get it worked out.
I think that's form if we're getting money, if we're gonna build something and things like that.
Yeah, that was a wrong form, I think,
Right.
so.
Okay.
Yeah.
No. Roll call.
Megan Bryant,
Yes.
Larry Bud.
Yes.
Ernie Dorchenez.
Yes.
Kathy Driscoll.
Yes.
Leland Zadi.
Yes.
Jim Olive.
Yes.
Driscoll Teddy.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0. City attorney update.
Four things really. The mayor received today a letter from the attorneys that were hired by the city's insurance carrier that are defending the city in the Hoffman versus City of Taylorville litigation, which is set for trial in April. the report that the mayor got is that they went to mediation, and which didn't last very long because the plaintiffs were demanding $1 million, and so it went pretty quickly. It's been turned back over, and according to the report, it's doubtful the trial will go in April, but just to keep you informed, there's some big dollars out there being floated around on it.
Rocky, if I might interrupt, for
Yes.
what this was, one of our city employees had an accident and hit a lady in a crosswalk last December, before people, the new elected ones.
Yes.
And, of course, and now she's suing. It was a 90-year-old lady, I believe. And so
So our kids are suing.
I don't know who's suing, but, that's where we've been involved in this since last December, I believe.
Right.
A year ago.
Right.
All right?
Follow up on the GSI easement that Mr. Spiegel has requested. When we got the Taylorville back, we discovered that there was an error on the easement survey work, and that's gonna be redone. And when we get those, when the surveys, when Ben Associates sends us back to us with the revised survey plan and easement plan, we'll get that easement put together so that we get the easement that Mr. Spiegel's requesting. We did receive apparently today on the 1600 East project that quitclaim deed that we were looking for. I think Mr. Spiegel's aware of that now, so that's already, I'm told that's already been recorded. We're waiting for the update of the title commitment and update from Ben Associate on the documents so we get that project put to bed. And the Ridge Avenue project, I believe Mr. Spiegel will tell you that the water's turned on to neighbors, as far as Mormon properties, ready to be tapped. I think we're in the process of getting the easement documents recorded. And with that, that would be it, I think. Well, the mayor and I and Mr. Bud we've had some discussions, on some projects coming up possibly to the city. Some legal issues have surfaced and it needs to be researched, so as soon as we get that under control or under some answers for the city council, we'll come back and let you know what's going on. Any questions?
Thank you, sir.
Yep, thank you.
Mayor update. I want to thank the aldermen and city officials that came to Quarterback Club Dinner this past weekend. It was a great success. It's great to see the community come out and support our youth. Thank you to the police and fire departments for a job well done the last couple of weeks. Also the water and street department for their continued great work, and special thanks to the street department in getting our 40th house torn down. Other communities are taking our lead and starting to tear down dilapidated homes in their own communities. I will be gone next week, and if there are any questions, please get a hold of the chairman of that particular committee or call my secretary. I will check in each day with Lisa at approximately 1 p.m. So if you have any questions for me, and I will get back to you. That's all. Committee reports. Discussions and or motions to approve, adopt, and or deny, and or table, and or amend, and or refer to an appropriate committee in whole or in part the matters regarding the following subject matters discussed at the committee level. Emergency services. Alderman Driscoll.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd entertain a motion to recommend to the City Council to allow Fire Chief Bateman to apply for a state fire marshal grant.
So moved.
Motion by Alderman Driscoll, second by Alderman Bryant. Questions or comments?
Okay. And,
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
The second item is, I'd like to make a motion to recommend to the City Council to forward the intergovernmental cooperation agreement with the City of Charleston for billing the Taylorville Fire Department services to the Ordinance Committee for review.
Motion by Alderman Driscoll, second by Alderman Bryant. Questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Personnel Committee, Alderman Lanzotti.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion to recommend to the city council to bid and or advertise the laborer's position at the lake. Make that a motion?
Motion by Alderman Lanzotti, second by Alderman Driscoll. Questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Motion to recommend to the city council to bid and/or advertise the marina clerk position at the Lake Department. Like to make that a form of a motion?
Motion by Alderman Gonzalez, second.
Second.
Alderman Dorchenez, questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Lake and Airport, Alderman Dorchenez.
Thank you, Mayor. The first motion came out of committee was to recommend to the city council to approve the application for the Taylorville building or alteration permit along with the ordinance. The ordinance already did pass. So I'd like to make that in form of motion.
Motion by Alderman Dorchenez,
Second.
second by Alderman Bryant. Questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Next motion was to recommend to the city council to approve the increase of tent camping charges from $5 to $10 a day with funds going to the Lake Restoration Fund. I'd like to make that in form of motion.
Motion by Alderman Dorchenez, second. Alderman Bud. Questions or comments? Roll call.
Larry Bud,
Yes.
Ernie Dorchenez.
Yes.
Kathy Driscoll.
Yes.
Leland Roddy.
Yes.
Yes.
Wallace, Chris Teddy.
Yes.
Megan Bryant.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Next motion was to recommend the city council to allow a maximum amount of $25,000 from the hotel motel tax fund for improvements of cabins at the lake, contingent upon approval of the city attorney, looking at the proposal and estimates received from the contractors.
Motion by Alderman Dorchenez, second.
Second.
Alderman Skoltedi, comment?
Not that this is not a good bid, but I think it would be prudent for us just to contact maybe a couple more people to get another bid, just so if there's any question about why we went with one individual. I imagine that this is probably a pretty good bid, but just to have something to compare to in case something, somebody would be irritated by only having one bid or whatever, it would kind of cover us. It would be I would feel that maybe the next ones, like Megan and I were talking, that it might come in a little bit higher than that.
Well, again, with these people just giving their proposal, we have no bid sheet, we have no bid spec, so it would be like you would be comparing apples to oranges. So we could get a bid for 200,000, or we could get a bid for 8,000, depending on what work that this particular bidder or contractor thought needed done. So that's why it's almost impossible for us, without bid specs, to really put this out for bid. This was a proposal by people that I personally trust. I had Alderman Dorchenez and I went and looked at it. And so,
I think your bid sheet becomes the spec sheet off what they're replacing. I mean, if you're trying to say you don't have a bid sheet, you have a bid sheet right here, this is what they're gonna do.
this is what they're gonna do. So I give that to somebody else. I take this to my brother. My brother says, yeah, I'll do this for 23,000.
Oh, yeah, it would be prudent to give it to them with a price on there, come on.
Well, I mean,
You give them the list of what's gonna be replaced.
They're the one that made
Let's act
this
like we got some common
they're
sense
the
when
one
we're
that
talking
made
about
this
this.
list.
We gotta act like we got some common sense. We take it and we type it out, and we say, this repair, this repair, this repair, this repair, this repair, and you leave prices out, and then they come up with their own bid quote.
Okay.
Let's not try to say, oh, we're gonna give them the sheet with the price on there.
Okay, well,
You know.
okay, like I said, they're gonna use luxury vinyl tile. What does that cost? The wood board, the
Then
pin.
if you want
things
the
like that.
specifics on there,
The
replace
shower.
4, replace this, replace that.
And when do you think these bids will be in, and when do you think this work would possibly be done? We've been talking about this for 6 months.
That's right, and there was time frames that you didn't do anything about it, so
I-
I'm not trying to blame anybody
Soon
for
as
anything,
I
I'm not
was
trying
told
to, I'm not
ask,
trying to say,
I
you're
finally got the
turning, this,
people out there.
this is getting extremely confrontational, you're turning this into something that it wasn't meant to be. I'm just saying it would be prudent for us to try to get another bid. There's a way to do it, there's a way to go about it, and there's a way not, and you're getting out of hand with this, and do whatever you want.
I have a question. Will this be part of the 2021 budget?
Well, it should be. But if
Because I don't
they're
think it's
doing
in the
work,
budget now.
no, it's not currently in the budget.
That's just my
I
question.
mean, the only other thing you can go to is the appropriations, and I don't remember now what we did have in the appropriations. this work is, if they're wanting to do it like I think they are, and Alderman Dorchnez, you can correct me. But I think he wanted this, try to get this done before the cabins opened April 1st.
We'd like to get it done as soon as possible. And, you know, the outside work, what it is that during, if you ever went out there and looked at the cabins, you know, they're not supposed to be the Holiday Inn. It's at the lake, it's supposed to be rustic. But as you well know, didn't you looked at them when you had somebody that was coming into town that were interested in staying out there, but after you went and inspected them, you knew that I think you made the decision before they even looked at them that they're probably not gonna be interested. So anyway, I would agree with Chris. That would be nice to do a bid. I don't know how you can detail all this and get somebody to bid it. We can try, but what it's gonna do is prolong getting it done, and the longer it takes to get it done, we're gonna have a problem with renting them and working on them at the same time. Predominantly, the rental of those cabins are done on weekends as opposed to during the week. Now, some people, I think, make mini vacations by coming there and staying for the week because of the reasonableness of what we charge. We charge $50 a night, except on the weekends we charge $55. And there's several things there that really we should, because of some safety issues. You could probably point to all of them not to be rented right now if you don't do something. So it's hard to say that if somebody did this work other than these guys, would it come out to be that amount of money? I don't know. All I know is this detail there's a lot of work to be done there. These two guys have got a lot of carpentry skills, so it's not like if I went out and started doing it, it would take a lot longer than those guys. They have identified probably about everything on that is wrong is in here. Well, what I'm saying is that I've recognized that I'm not arguing for or against, I'm just telling you facts as I see it. Since the tornadoes come to town, okay, since that was December 1st, now it's going on, this is the second year, and I know personally that I had $25,000 damage to my house, okay. I wanted a reputable contractor to come do my work, so the person I called was who I've always used. That person didn't even have time to, by covering all the other people that had used him in the past, he went by the number of calls that he got ahead of me. So I was kind of far down the list. I'm still waiting to have that done. I've called people for other things in my house to come look at things. I don't know who they're dealing with or whatever. Maybe they looked at my credit rating. Megan, have you been getting any calls?
I have not had your.
Okay, they're not coming to my house, is what I'm saying, just that. I had a blue roof for a long time. And they finally, the only reason they came finally put the roof on, half the house, is because that blue started leaking and it was gonna be too expensive to take the remaining blue off and put it back on. I'm getting going a long ways to tell you that if we try this, I'm not opposed to it. I don't know who would do the bid specs, I couldn't do that. They've done a lot of work to do this bid specs, so to speak. And if we put this all in writing without somebody knowing what this number is, that number from these guys could go up or down, and from looking at all the work that I've seen out there, it would, if everybody did it, including these guys, I'm just guessing that the bid is gonna go up. And they may be the only ones that bid it. So, what we're at risk of is, if we put together a proposal, a bid sheet, And these guys are able to rebid it. And we've already exposed what they said this would be, but if you're gonna really get down to every little thing that they're gonna do, and I suspect that with all the work that everybody else still has remaining, all the contractors, they're not gonna mess with something like this. They want the big jobs. They want to come to my house, and I'm still waiting to my whole house gotta be recited. Most of my garage has gotta be, they just where the debris is kept and make holes in it. They're gonna replace that siding. They gotta replace some downspouts. They got, I have a little one-room house behind the garage. They got work to do on that. So if they're the contractors, are looking at the big jobs, they're not looking at these. This is so-called little job. $25,000 is not a little job to me, but I think that, to get somebody to come and do this, to even bid on it, I have my doubts, but if, I'm open to suggestions. How would we put all this in a bid form? I don't know how to do that. I don't know who could do that for us, and then put it out for bids. And how long are we gonna put it out for bids for? 30 days or? It just seems like if we had all the time in the world, it probably still would be a bad idea, simply because of the fact that I think we're putting ourselves in a liability situation if we rent any of those cabins. If somebody gets hurt on one of these things that says, you said you were gonna do this, it's in your proposal, you're gonna fix a deck that was broken, and I went and rented that cabin and you didn't have the deck fixed, I got hurt. I don't know what the liability is, and I'm not leaning one way or the other. I'm just telling you, these are the facts.
Maybe Alderman Driscoll has a solution.
I have a couple more points I'd like to make real quick on this. First off, what is the condition of it? Is it rentable right now? Are they rentable?
I wouldn't rent them.
You would not safe, not rentable?
I
Okay.
would say, I mean, you're welcome to go out there.
Oh, yeah.
You know, the decks are very wobbly.
Okay.
Two of them probably need replaced. Inside is shambles.
Okay.
You know, the one that needs a shower. You know, just things like that. Yeah, I wouldn't rent. Larry tried to rent them for his family member was it last year or the year before?
Year before that.
And he wouldn't rent them.
Okay.
I mean, they're open. I mean, Bart's got a key. Everyone's welcome. You know, we went out there on probably the coldest day of the year and looked at them. I've been out there previous with this group of guys. And then I was asked to bring paperwork back.
So then let me ask this, if it's not in our 2020 budget, and we don't have this budgeted, how are we going to pay for this?
Mr. Bud said we could do something with the appropriations, but I think we could probably talk to these guys and we could pay them in the new fiscal year, May. I mean, the work probably won't be done till April at least, so I don't think these guys would care if they were a month late getting paid.
Okay, let me answer that question.
Okay.
Okay. The treasurer pointed out, we have money in the hotel motel
Right.
line item. And that money can only be spent on things that are associated with tourism.
Right.
So as far as the city benefiting from that, we have few opportunities to use that money because it's restricted as to
Money in
tourism.
the bank account, but is the money,
Let me
is it
finish. Let me
budgeted?
finish just a minute. So you can't say, let's take that hotel motel tax money and fill potholes on Main Street. You can't do that.
I understand it helps
Okay,
for that.
all right, so this is an excellent project to have that, okay. Although it's not in the budget, it's been appropriated. The appropriations is, as I understand it, it's not in the appropriations. You don't have money in the appropriations line item?
I don't recall this being put in the budget last year.
No, it's not in the budget. What I'm saying, what's the purpose of having an appropriation for, let's just say one thing?
Because if we have, say, $10,000 in a line item, it doesn't mean I appropriated 50.
Don't you appropriate always more money than's in the budget?
But not, maybe
if you look
not
at
that much. It depends.
Our appropriations are millions of dollars higher than our budget.
The appropriation ordinance is simply a legal vehicle that sets the limits of what a city can pay for any specific item it wants to purchase or build. The budget is, all the budget does is just sets out a checkbook budget is how you're gonna spend your money. It doesn't limit you to exceed the budget. You can exceed the budget anytime you want to. You just can't exceed the appropriation. So
That's my
if it's
point.
on a line item in the appropriation ordinance, you can find the funds to spend for it out of the hotel. Legally, you can do it.
Okay.
And then my last thing was, I agree, we need, in the interest of transparency, we should make an attempt to receive other bids. If we put that out there and nobody bites, okay, then we made an effort. I think that makes us look on the up and up, and we're not just, picking for one person that we know, and we're gonna say, okay, then that's opening a can of worms.
Well, when
So-
we put things out for bid,
Right.
we ourselves or the engineers or somebody puts out the bid spec.
Okay,
I'm unable to put out the bid specs for this.
okay.
I don't know if anybody here can put out the bid specs for this.
So are you saying
So-
you're not quite sure exactly what all needs to be done when you're talking about bid specs?
Right.
They've given us a punch list right here. So we can extract this from here, make our own little itemized list. Okay, we need to have pressure washing, how much is that gonna cost? We need to have paint, how much is that gonna cost? We can go through each one of these items, so right here, these bullet items right here. And then we can have that put out, and maybe some of them have a 50,000, it may be higher. I don't know, but we at least, in the interest of being transparent and open, we need to make an attempt to see if anybody else is interested. Maybe nobody else will. But I think it's the
Well,
right way to do
like
it.
I said, that's fine, but
Okay.
we're time sensitive, we need to get this done.
Okay.
So if we put it out for bid,
Right,
30 days,
That sounds
we're
good.
already at mid-March.
Right.
We're wanting this done by April 1st.
okay.
There's no way they're gonna get the work done in 2 weeks.
If they can't get it done by April 1st, at least, if it's in the end of April, at least we've still got some renting time available,
Okay.
rather than waiting an entire year.
And I'd say draw it to bid specs.
Can I
I'm
ask,
not capable of doing
can I
it.
ask one quick question? I mean, we didn't put this out for bid, so do we have to put, I mean, can we just not go to another contractor and say, hey, this is kind of what we're looking at doing, can you throw us something, go out and look at it and tell us how much you charge us in a week?
Put it out.
I assume I could, if I could get a contractor to do that.
Okay.
I mean, would one other bid suffice?
I mean, how did this even occur to get a proposal? Is it just?
I was told to go out and get you guys to look at it and see what we need, so that's what I did.
Okay.
Ernie and I and these two gentlemen went out the other day, they told us what we needed. I brought that to committee a couple weeks ago.
Mhm.
And they said, well, we need something written, so these guys wrote down what they're going to do. So,
What needs to be done, and
What
then
needs to
they
be done
gave you an
and
offer,
what
how
they
much
were
they
going to
would
do.
charge for that.
right,
Okay.
pay prevailing wage and all.
Okay.
And I'm no contractor, I don't know if that's a good bid or not. I deal in people. I trust these gentlemen, I think they'll do a great job, I think they'll do what we want them to do, I think those cabins will be rentable, and they'll look good. That's all I can go on.
And I understand that, I
And
do,
I
I
think
just,
they're giving us a reasonable price. If somebody else doesn't think so, they're welcome to give another price and tell us what they're gonna do, we give their prices. But I don't think we have time to do that, and I think we should let these guys do it. If we get so-called taken advantage of,
well, I don't think it's that so much as it's just making sure we look transparent, that we are on the up and up with everything. That we're saying, we're gonna give everybody a chance to give us a price. Put that out. At the 30 days, if it's gonna put us behind, say, a month into the rental time, most people, it's still pretty cold in April. It even snows in April. I don't think we're gonna have a big boom of people wanting to rent at the beginning of April. But that's just a thought. And then if you've got people who are mainly there on the weekends, they can work it on the weekdays when they're not being rented. That's when the contractors are gonna wanna work anyhow, is weekday. So,
I mean, it doesn't matter to me. I was told to go out and get a proposal, and that's what I did, and I think it's a legitimate proposal. And
it probably.
we had a motion and a second, so
If I may,
let's
just
vote
one
on
more
it.
comment. I did not make, I wasn't accusing these guys of anything. I think they'll do a perfect job, and I plan on voting yes.
Okay.
I had intended from the beginning. I just, like Kathy said, I think, you can bring any contractor in and say, identify anything and fix it, just like they did.
Mhm.
That you can get a bid in a week. And you got, by the time you took them two out there, you guys took them out there and then they wrote it up, it's been a week, maybe two, whatever. But still, it's gonna be approved and you can spend up to that amount to approve it, so if the other ones come back, then, I mean, it's kind of a moot point, it's gonna be okay. this whole thing went to a place it wasn't intended on. I'm just saying, due diligence, do the things we need to do, and it's not that big a deal. You just bring them in, say, you know, fix everything you can find. If they can't beat it, then so be it. We go with them. It's a good price. They're gonna get everything fixed. It's gonna be better than it was, so I'm a yes, and let's move on.
Okay.
I just have one comment. You know, I don't know how accurate this is, but I know that there's a lot of work out there. And I know you guys, your time is precious, and that everybody ought to go out there, call Bart by Alice and say, Bart, I'd like to see those cabins. Can you get, and Bart will make sure that he'll take you down there and show it to you. Lee, you've been in those cabins.
Yes, I have. I went out with AJ on that.
Okay, I don't know, but did you recognize any bad stuff?
I wasn't running them.
Well, but we didn't start to fix anything. That's my point.
But we had an opportunity for somebody came in here with building trades and said that they wanted to go out and refurbish them. That never amounted to anything, did it? Mr.
No,
Mayor?
well, they
They
hired.
They fired him.
Yeah.
Okay, that was okay.
And so then they came back and
That's their
said,
prerogative, okay?
that's water under the bridge. We can't get Lincoln Land to do it. So, but here's one of the problems with getting bids now. And this is one concern, that it's just a concern, whatever you guys want to do, I'm not gonna take one side or the other, okay? I'm just gonna try to provide some information. If you've got, I've got the floor.
I don't have to.
I got the floor, just hang on. So, you didn't say anything when you had the lake committee, so just hold it up. So anyway, here's, the problem is when everybody's got a lot of work to do, what they do oftentimes is that they bid things high because they don't care if they get the work or not. And if they bid it high and you take it and you give it the bid, then you pay too much money. So, well, my concern, the only concern I got is, not the only concern, but one of the concerns is that if you bid this, okay, I don't know who put together the bid, but if you bid it, and everybody bids it high, including these two guys, bid it more, okay, we could fairly end up paying a lot more for it, getting it done, or you're gonna lose a season of random. So there's revenue we're gonna lose too. So anyway, I think time is of the essence. We should have done this a long time ago. And maybe some of the things we could, you know, if you did the things that are the most dangerous, for example, there's a shower that's really in bad shape. It needs replaced right away. And then
The floors.
it's got one of the cabins, I can't believe it, I don't know much about woodworking, but they've got wainscoting on the floor. It looks like probably somebody gave it to them. And you know what wainscoting looks like? It's flat and it's got little dents. The wainscoting is with the grooves up. So you know what those grooves do when you go in there with dirty shoes? Put your shoes on. So you gotta, it's not dangerous, but it's just filthy dirty. You can't clean those grooves out. So anyway, I don't wanna sound like I'm trying to get this done. I want the job done, but I want it done right.
Alderman Zadi, and then we'll vote.
I'd like to make a comment about that. AJ was the superintendent of the lake. We went out and looked at these and verified them, and they were in bad shape then. But the problem was, we had so many things going on at the lake. We had to replace the gas pumps that went underwater. We had to replace tractors. We had to replace the mule. The mower burned up. There were so many things going on, and AJ and I talked about this, but he said, if we do this right now, nobody's gonna be doing them anyway because they're not fit for, people to go in and rent. That's the reason why we waited, and then when November ran around, nobody, and Larry, you know, you said you had people who went out and looked at it. I wouldn't even put my dog in there. So that's what I'm saying.
So the
I have no
motion
problem.
is to allow a maximum amount
I'm
of
not done yet,
25,000.
Mr. Mayor, I got
Okay.
one more comment. The proposal here, and we have good people, and I trust Randy Mitchell, and I think he would be good. However, I have to go by what Chris said. Let's put this out into a format on a proposal basis, let's have bids on this, and take off that $24,800. Give them a time frame. What, 30 days? Like Kathy said, in April. I doubt there's very many people that will wanna go there, so let's put it down to a format of a bid. And that's my recommendation. I won't vote on that proposal.
We got a motion and a second. Roll call.
Bernie Dorchenez?
Yes.
Kathy Driscoll?
Yes.
Lee Landzadi?
No.
Jim Olive?
Yes.
Chris Coletti?
Yes.
Megan Bryant?
Yes.
Larry Bud?
Yes.
Motion carries 6-1.
I have time.
Thank you, gentlemen and ladies. That went pretty well. The next time on the agenda is to motion to recommend the city council to allow Airport Manager Newberry to renew the annual service agreement with UT5 at a price not to exceed $945 for the year. I'd like to make that in form of a motion and have a comment.
Motion by Alderman Dorchenez, second by Alderman Bryant. Comment, Alderman Dorchenez.
Yeah, Alderman Bud had a good question the night of the meeting, because we have an existing service agreement with UT5 for the old car readers. And I won't go into all the details about the replacing that one, but it's extinct, they're not gonna have any more service on it. Come to find out that the service agreement, simply because of the fact that it was old and there's not gonna be any more service agreements, it expired in November. So now we don't have to worry about having to try to prorate the amount. So, in fact, it's gonna save us some money because we're not gonna renew the new one. We've got the new card reader out there, and Mr. Newberry is in the process of making arrangements to get everything lined out to get. He thinks he can do a lot of the work himself, but he needs an electrician. I don't know if he needs anybody else, but he needs an electrician, and he's trying to iron that out. So we're not gonna get a new agreement until such time as that one's installed. So, I recommend that we pass this motion, and we'll wait till we get the new one in, and then we'll make the agreement.
Roll call.
So, but that's a good idea, Larry.
Kathy Driscoll?
Yes.
Lee Landzadi?
Yes.
Jim Olive?
Yes.
Chris Coletti?
Yes.
Megan Bryant?
Yes.
Larry Bud?
Yes.
Bernie Dorchenez?
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0. Motion to approve and ratify payment of bills. Motion by Alderman Bud, second by Alderman Driscoll. Comment, Alderman Bud?
We're gonna be pulling one bill tonight, the bill in there for, Elizabeth, Morris Heil. This is for an address at 601 White Avenue. She wants refunded $1,750. But if you look at the bill, which I did go through all the bills today, I have questions on the bill. I've spoken to the sewer superintendent, and I've talked to the mayor, I've talked to Julie. I have problems with this bill of us paying that amount, and looking at the bill myself, I think we only need to pay $500. Instead of the total bill was $3,800, but when you look at the bill, there's only the cost for the alley is $1,000. She had, it said replace sewer from house onto the alley, installed sump pump. It says labor materials, backhoe permits, etc. $2,800, alley $1,000 for $3,800, and she wants $1,750. We do not pay for anything on people's property. If it's out in the right of way, we have helped them up to $1,750, and that's been going since 2015. And for that reason, I'm asking this bill to be pulled, and then on the total amount will change also, because there was a bill today that had $4.05 in sales tax. Cindy took that off of there. So the bills tonight will total to $728,438.29. And okay, here's the bills. Electric, $17,846.91. Fuel, $11,482.08. Garbage, $5,275.51. Ace, Big R, Urbans and Ronks, $2,223.98. Travelers Insurance for general liability, $39,223.25. Quill for office supplies, $1,346.04. U.S. Bank, $3,759.88. Computer Tech, $6,878.32. Neil Tire, $2,109.06. Meyer Austin Romano, $5,989.50. USA Blue Book, $1,251.43. Ricky Plumbing, $1,215.15. Aldi sales tax and reimbursement number 9, $11,503.98. Illinois Department of Security, unemployment, $1,890. W.W. Granger, $1,172.59. Julie's for the annual Julie contract, $3,407.62. Jacob and Klein for economic development, TIP 1 and the BDD, $4,516.91. Fire Department, yard heating and cooling, heat exchanger, $4,236.24. Street Department, paint on lines, PH Broughton, premix, $2,516.12. Paint on limestone, $3,487.12. MFT, Benton and Associates, East and West Main Cross, $29,200. Water Department, Clocker Construction, $519,663.49. Chemicals, $15,709.20. Anderson Electric, $1,304.51. PDC Labs, $1,395. And Airport for the QT Pod, $12,245. And these total is $710,843.84.
Right.
Roll call.
Lee Landzadi.
Yes.
Jim Wallace.
Yes.
Driscoll Teddy.
Yes.
Megan Brant.
Yes.
Larry Bud.
Yes.
Ernie Dorchenez.
Yes.
Kathy Griswold. Yes.
Motion carries 7-0. First subparagraph G of 5 ILCS 120/2.06. This portion of the city council meeting is reserved for any person wishing to address the council on any relevant subject matters concerning the city. The Illinois Opens Meeting Act 5 ILCS 120/1 mandates no action shall be taken on subject matters not listed on the agenda, but the council may direct staff to address the topic or refer the subject matter to a future council and/or committee meeting. If anyone wishes to address the council, please provide your name and address, limit your comments or presentation to 3 minutes, and avoid repetitious comments. Anyone out there like to speak? All right, thank you. Motion for adjournment.
So
Alderman
moved.
Bryant,
Second.
second by Alderman Aldis. All in favor? All opposed? Council meeting is adjourned.